Right now, as you're listening to this, there's a good chance that at least 3 invisible forces are quietly dismantling your potential for success. You can't see them, you might not even feel them, but they're there, working silently in the background of your mind, like termites eating away at the foundation of a house. The terrifying part? Most people never discover what's holding them back until it's too late, until they look back on their life and wonder why they never achieved what they were capable of. Today, we're going to expose these hidden mental traps, but more importantly, we're going to dive deep into the psychology behind why they exist, how they infiltrate your thinking without permission, and most critically, the specific strategies you can use starting today to eliminate them from your life forever. This isn't just another motivational talk. This is a psychological excavation of the mindsets that separate those who achieve extraordinary success from those who spend their entire lives wondering what could have been. Before we dive into the specific mental traps, I need you to understand something fundamental about how success actually works. Most people believe that success is primarily about opportunity, talent, or even luck. But after studying hundreds of successful individuals and analyzing the patterns that separate high achievers from everyone else, a different truth emerges. Success is first and foremost a psychological game. It's won or lost in the privacy of your own mind long before it manifests in your bank account, your relationships, or your career. Your external world is nothing more than a physical manifestation of your internal world. Everything you see around you, every result in your life, started as a thought pattern, a belief system, a mental habit. This means that if you want to change your results, you must first change what's happening inside your mind. The challenge is that most of the mental patterns destroying your success operate below the level of conscious awareness. They're so ingrained, so automatic, that you don't even recognize them as problems. They feel normal. They feel like just the way things are. And that's precisely what makes them so dangerous. Let's start with perhaps the most insidious trap of all, indifference. On the surface, indifference seems harmless. It's the mental equivalent of a shrug, that feeling of whatever that creeps into your attitude toward your work, your goals, your life. But here's what most people don't understand about indifference. It's not actually a neutral state. Indifference is an active choice, a decision you're making, often unconsciously, to withhold your energy and enthusiasm from the very activities that could transform your life. Think about it this way. Every single day you have a reservoir of emotional and mental energy. The question isn't whether you'll spend it. The question is where you'll spend it. When you approach your work with indifference, when you tell yourself it doesn't really matter, when you hold back your effort because you're waiting for some perfect opportunity in the future, you're essentially choosing to leak your energy into nothing. You're letting it dissipate instead of concentrating it into something powerful. The psychology behind indifference is fascinating and deeply revealing. Most people develop indifference as a defense mechanism. At some point, probably early in life, you tried really hard at something and it didn't work out. Maybe you got rejected, criticized, or failed publicly. Your mind, trying to protect you from future pain, created a coping strategy. It whispered, if you don't care that much, if you don't try that hard, then it won't hurt as much when things don't work out. And so indifference became your emotional armor. The problem is that the same armor that protects you from pain also blocks you from passion, from progress, from breakthrough success. You cannot drift your way to the top of anything meaningful. Success at any significant level requires an almost irrational level of commitment. It requires you to pour everything you have into what you're doing right now, not what you'll do when circumstances improve, but right now, in this moment, with the resources and opportunities you currently have. Here's the transformation strategy for overcoming indifference. You must make a conscious decision to become someone who is fully engaged with life. This starts with a simple but profound shift in your daily approach. Whatever you're doing today, whether it's a job you don't particularly love, a project that seems insignificant, or a task that feels beneath your abilities, commit to doing it with an intensity that would surprise anyone watching. Pour energy into it. Find ways to make it excellent. Bring creativity to it. This isn't about the task itself. This is about reconditioning your mind to operate at a higher level of engagement. Because here's the truth that successful people understand. How you do anything is how you do everything. If you're indifferent in your current situation, you'll be indifferent in your next situation. The opportunity doesn't create the effort creates the opportunity. When you start bringing full engagement to everything you touch, opportunities that were always there but invisible to your indifferent mind suddenly become apparent. People notice your energy, doors open, life responds to intensity with intensity, and to indifference with more of the same mediocrity you're currently experiencing. The second mental trap is indecision, and it operates like quicksand for your potential. Every moment you spend unable to make a decision is a moment you're not moving forward. And in the game of success, momentum is everything. Indecision is particularly destructive because it masquerades as wisdom. You tell yourself you're being careful, thoughtful, strategic. You're weighing all the options. You're making sure you don't make a mistake. But let's be brutally honest about what's really happening. In most cases, indecision isn't about lacking information. It's about lacking courage. It's about being so afraid of making the wrong choice that you make no choice at all. And ironically, making no choice is actually the worst choice because time keeps moving whether you decide or not. And while you're frozen in analysis paralysis, life is passing you by. The psychological root of chronic indecision is perfectionism combined with fear of judgment. Somewhere along the way, you internalize the belief that you must always make the optimal choice, that mistakes are intolerable, that being wrong is shameful. So you gather more information, you consult more people, you create elaborate pros and cons lists, you wait for clarity, you wait for certainty, you wait for a sign. But here's what you need to understand about how life actually works. Certainty is an illusion. There is no perfect choice. There is only the choice you make and what you do with it afterward. Every successful person I've studied has made countless wrong decisions. The difference is they made them quickly, learned from them quickly, and adjusted course quickly. They understood that action, even imperfect action, creates feedback, and feedback creates learning, and learning creates wisdom. Here's the framework for overcoming indecision. First, you need to radically shorten your decision-making timeline. For most decisions that aren't life or death, give yourself a maximum of 24 hours to decide. More time rarely leads to better decisions because you're not gathering new information, you're just ruminating on the same information and generating more anxiety. Second, you need to reframe what a decision actually is. A decision isn't a final destination, it's just your best guess about the next step. You're not committing to a decision for life, you're committing to taking action so you can get the feedback that will inform your next decision. Think of decision-making less like choosing a permanent path and more like conducting a series of experiments. You're testing hypotheses about what might work. Some experiments will succeed, some will fail. Both outcomes give you valuable data. Third, you need to develop what I call directional clarity. You don't need to know exactly how you're going to get from where you are to where you want to be. You just need to know generally which direction to start moving. Pick any reasonable direction and commit to it fully. If it's wrong, you'll discover that quickly, and the experience will actually help you make better decisions going forward, because now you have real-world data instead of hypothetical scenarios. Now we come to perhaps the most personal and painful of all mental traps, self-doubt. This is the quiet voice that tells you you're not good enough, not smart enough, not experienced enough, not worthy enough. It's the voice that reviews all your past failures as evidence of future failures. It's the voice that compares you to everyone else and always finds you lacking. Self-doubt is particularly devastating because it doesn't just stop you from taking action, it stops you from even believing that success is possible for someone like you. It convinces you that success is for other people, people with advantages you don't have, people with talents you weren't born with, people who are somehow fundamentally different from you. Let's explore the deep psychology of self-doubt, because understanding where it comes from is the first step in dismantling it. Self-doubt is almost never based on objective reality. It's based on interpretations of past events that your mind has twisted into evidence of your inadequacy. Maybe a parent or teacher criticized you at a crucial developmental stage. Maybe you failed at something important, and your mind decided that failure meant something about your core identity rather than just being feedback about a specific approach. Maybe you grew up in an environment where love and approval were conditional on performance, so you learned that your worth was something you had to earn rather than something you inherently possessed. Whatever the source, self-doubt became a lens through which you view yourself, and that lens distorts everything. It magnifies your weaknesses and minimizes your strengths. It remembers every failure and forgets every success. It predicts catastrophe and ignores possibility. The antidote to self-doubt is not positive thinking or affirmations, although those can play a supporting role. The real antidote is evidence-based confidence. You need to systematically build a case for your own capability by taking action and documenting the results. Start small. Identify one area where self-doubt is holding you back. Now commit to doing something in that area every single day for 30 days. Not something huge, something manageable but consistent. If you doubt your ability to be healthy, commit to 10 minutes of movement every day. If you doubt your creative abilities, commit to creating something, anything, for 15 minutes every day. If you doubt your business skills, commit to learning one new concept and applying it every day. The goal here isn't immediate mastery. The goal is to collect evidence that you are someone who follows through, someone who learns, someone who grows. Each day you keep your commitment to yourself. You deposit proof into your mental bank account that you are capable and reliable. Over time, these deposits compound. Your self-doubt has no answer for consistent action. It can predict failure all it wants, but when you have 30 days, 60 days, 90 days of evidence showing that you showed up and did the work, self-doubt loses its power. You're no longer arguing with it or trying to convince yourself you're worthy. You're simply pointing to the scoreboard. Worry is a mental trap that operates differently from the others because it's about the future rather than the present. Worry is your mind's attempt to solve problems that haven't happened yet, to prepare for disasters that may never occur, to control outcomes that are inherently uncontrollable. And while a small amount of productive concern can help you plan and prepare, chronic worry is purely destructive. It drains your mental energy, disrupts your sleep, damages your health, and perhaps most importantly, it accomplishes absolutely nothing. Worry has never solved a single problem. It has never changed a single outcome. It's mental activity without any productive result, like running on a treadmill that's not even turned on. The reason worry is so persistent and so hard to break is because it feels productive. Your mind tricks you into believing that by worrying about something, you're doing something about it. You're being responsible. You're being prepared. But that's an illusion. Worry and productive planning are completely different activities. Productive planning looks at possible challenges and creates specific action steps to address them. It asks, what can I do about this, and then does those things. Worry, on the other hand, just loops endlessly through worst-case scenarios without ever arriving at solutions. It asks, what if this terrible thing happens, and then just sits in the anxiety of that question without taking any action to prevent it or prepare for it. Breaking free from chronic worry requires understanding a fundamental principle. You cannot control outcomes, you can only control actions. This is both liberating and challenging. It's liberating because it means you can stop trying to orchestrate the universe and just focus on what's actually within your power. It's challenging because it requires you to develop tolerance for uncertainty. Most chronic worriers are trying to achieve an impossible goal, complete certainty about the future. They believe that if they just think about it enough, plan enough, prepare enough, they can eliminate all risk and guarantee positive outcomes. But life doesn't work that way. Risk is inherent in being alive. Uncertainty is the default state of existence. The question isn't how to eliminate uncertainty. The question is how to act powerfully in the presence of uncertainty. Here's the practical framework for transforming worry into productive action. Every time you notice yourself worrying about something, stop and ask yourself 3 questions. First, is this situation actually within my control? If the answer is no, you must consciously choose to release it. You can acknowledge the concern, but then you redirect your mental energy to things you can actually influence. Second, if the situation is within your control, what is one specific action I can take right now to address it? Notice the emphasis on specific and now, not someday, not when circumstances are right, but what can you do today? Third, once you've taken that action, can you trust that I've done what I can and let go of the rest? This last question is about developing faith, not necessarily religious faith, but faith in the process, faith that if you do your part, things have a way of working out, even if not exactly as you planned. Worry is exhausting because it's an attempt to control everything. Wisdom is energizing because it focuses your energy only on what you can actually influence and releases everything else.
Overcaution is the mental trap of playing life so safe that you never actually live. It's the mindset that asks, what if something goes wrong, before asking, what if something goes right? It's the voice that reminds you of all the reasons why something might not work before you've even tried. Overcaution feels responsible and prudent, but in reality, it's just fear dressed up in respectable clothing. And the cost of overcaution is enormous because it doesn't just prevent failure, it prevents success. It keeps you in situations that are comfortable but limiting. It keeps you from taking the risks that could transform your life. It keeps you safe, but it also keeps you small. Let's examine the faulty logic that underlies overcaution. The overcautious mind operates on the assumption that the safest path is the one with the least risk. But that's a fundamental misunderstanding of how risk actually works. There is no path without risk. Staying in a job you hate is risky because you're risking your fulfillment, your growth, your potential. Not starting that business is risky because you're risking living with regret for the rest of your life. Not having that difficult conversation is risky because you're risking the health of your most important relationship. The question is never whether to take risks. The question is which risks you're willing to take. Are you going to risk temporary discomfort and possible failure in pursuit of something meaningful? Or are you going to risk dying with your music still inside you because you were too afraid to play it? The most successful people I've studied have a completely different relationship with risk than the overcautious person. They don't see risk as something to be avoided, they see it as something to be managed. They don't ask, how can I avoid all risk? They ask, what's the worst that could happen? Can I survive that? And is the potential upside worth it? This shift in questioning changes everything. When you think through the actual worst-case scenario, rather than just having a vague fear of bad things happening, you almost always discover that the worst case isn't nearly as catastrophic as your imagination made it seem. And when you weigh that manageable worst case against the potential best case, the decision often becomes clear. Here's how to break free from overcaution. Start deliberately seeking out small, manageable risks and taking them. Not reckless risks, but calculated ones where the potential gain outweighs the potential loss. Maybe it's reaching out to someone you admire and asking for advice. Maybe it's volunteering for a project at work that's outside your comfort zone. Maybe it's investing in your education even though it's scary to spend that money. Maybe it's starting that side project you've been thinking about for years. Each time you take a risk and survive it, even if the outcome isn't perfect, you recalibrate your risk tolerance. You build evidence that you're capable of handling uncertainty, capable of recovering from setbacks, capable of more than your overcautious mind believed possible. Over time, your identity shifts from someone who plays it safe to someone who goes for it. And that identity shift changes everything about what becomes possible in your life. Pessimism is perhaps the most socially acceptable of all the mental traps because it masquerades as realism. The pessimist will tell you they're just being practical, just seeing things as they really are, just not setting themselves up for disappointment. But pessimism isn't realism. It's a selective attention to negative possibilities while ignoring positive ones. It's a mental habit of looking for what's wrong, what's difficult, what's impossible, and using those observations as evidence that success isn't worth pursuing. The pessimist looks at a beautiful window and sees only the specks of dirt instead of the sunset beyond. And that selective attention creates a self-fulfilling prophecy, because what you focus on expands in your experience. The psychological mechanism behind chronic pessimism is fascinating and important to understand if you want to break free from it. Your mind is constantly filtering the massive amount of information coming at you every moment and deciding what to pay attention to. This filtering process is heavily influenced by your beliefs and expectations. If you expect things to go wrong, your mind will automatically highlight all the evidence that supports that expectation and ignore or minimize evidence to the contrary. This is called confirmation bias, and it operates below conscious awareness. The pessimist genuinely believes they're seeing reality objectively, but they're actually seeing a distorted version of reality that their own beliefs have created. They notice every setback, every difficulty, every reason for concern, but they don't notice the opportunities, the progress, the reasons for hope with the same intensity. Breaking free from pessimism requires deliberately retraining your attention. This isn't about pretending problems don't exist or engaging in toxic positivity. It's about developing a balanced perception that acknowledges challenges while also recognizing possibilities. One powerful practice is to end each day by identifying 3 specific things that went well, no matter how small. Your mind will resist this at first, especially if you've been pessimistic for a long time. It will want to focus on everything that went wrong. But if you persist with this practice, something remarkable happens. You start noticing positive things during the day because your mind knows you're going to be looking for them later. Your filtering system begins to recalibrate. You start seeing the opportunities that were always there, but invisible to your pessimistic lens. This doesn't mean life suddenly becomes easy or that challenges disappear. It means you develop the mental capacity to see challenges as temporary and solvable, rather than permanent and overwhelming.
The final mental trap, and perhaps the most socially contagious, is complaining. Complaining feels good in the moment because it releases tension and often generates sympathy from others. But chronic complaining is absolutely devastating to your success because it reinforces a victim identity. Every time you complain about your circumstances, your boss, the economy, the government, your luck, or anything else, you're subtly programming your mind to believe that external forces control your life and you're powerless to change anything. You're handing away your power and your responsibility. And while that might feel satisfying in the short term, in the long term it guarantees mediocrity, because success requires the opposite mindset. Success requires believing that you have agency, that your choices matter, that you can influence your outcomes. The insidious thing about complaining is that it's so normalized in our culture. People bond over complaining. It's seen as a form of social connection. You complain about work, they complain about work, and suddenly you're commiserating together. But this kind of bonding is toxic because it reinforces limitation rather than possibility. It keeps everyone stuck in a shared narrative of powerlessness. And here's something most people don't realize. The people you complain with and to are also quietly judging you. They might sympathize to your face, but deep down they're noticing that you're someone who focuses on problems rather than solutions, someone who externalizes responsibility, someone who lacks the mental strength to handle challenges without venting about them. The transformation from complaining to constructive problem-solving is one of the most powerful shifts you can make. It starts with a simple rule: no complaint without a corresponding commitment to action. If something is bothering you enough to complain about it, it's bothering you enough to do something about it. Either take action to change the situation or make peace with it and move on. Those are your only productive options. Complaining without action is just choosing to suffer twice, once from the problem itself and once from the mental energy you waste ruminating on it. When you catch yourself about to complain, pause and ask, what can I do about this? If there's something you can do, do it. If there's nothing you can do, consciously choose to accept it and redirect your energy to something you can control. The 7 mental traps we've explored today operate below the surface of your conscious awareness, but they determine everything about your results in life. Indifference, indecision, self-doubt, worry, overcaution, pessimism, and complaining are not just bad habits, they're identity-level beliefs about who you are and what's possible for you. The good news is that none of these mental traps are permanent. They're learned patterns, and anything that's learned can be unlearned and replaced with something better. The transformation doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen if you commit to the daily practice of guarding your mind, choosing your thoughts carefully, and taking action despite fear and uncertainty. Success isn't about waiting until these mental traps disappear before you start pursuing your goals. Success is about recognizing them when they show up, refusing to let them control your behavior, and moving forward anyway. Your life is literally being created by what you allow into your mind and what you do with it once it's there. Choose wisely, act boldly, and refuse to let these silent killers steal another day of your potential.